Most of you watching this already know that in order to lose weight, we need to eat less calories than we burn. And most of you know that from a metabolic rate perspective, it doesn't matter whether we have 2 meals per day or 8 meals per day. What matters is how many calories we consume, not how we consume those calories throughout the day. With that said, I still get a lot of questions when it comes to snacking, specifically from people who are trying to lose weight. Should I incorporate snacks? Should I not incorporate snacks? What's the best approach? To start, I want to look at the hunger fullness scale. This is something I've covered on this channel before, and it's the same scale that I included in Eric and I's transitioning away from tracking video course. So basically, what this scale is it's a tool you can use to help you identify how hungry or full you are in any given moment. A 1 represents ravenous, a 3 represents hungry, a 5 represents neutral, meaning you're not hungry or full, an 8 represents full, and then a 10 represents stuffed. So I think the two I want to highlight real quick are just the 3 and the 8. So those just represent, I know it's hard because it's subjective, but those are like just you're hungry. You're not starving, you're obviously not ravenous, but you're also not just like kind of hungry. It's just like a solid level of you're hungry. And then the same with full. It's like you're not obviously not stuffed or bloated or anything like that, but you're also not just like a little bit like I could eat. It's like no, you're full. So again, the way that you use this scale, or way you can use this scale to help you identify how hungry or full you are, is you'll take a deep breath, clear your mind. You can close your eyes if you find that helpful, and then ask yourself the question, am I physically hungry at all? This question helps you identify which half of the scale you're on. So basically, you know that if you're hungry at all, your rating is going to be somewhere between a 1 and a 5. And if you're not hungry at all, you know your rating is going to be somewhere between a 5 and a 10. Once you know which half of the scale you're on, then you can tune in further to how you're feeling, tune in further to those hunger and fullness sensations, and try to give yourself a specific rating to the nearest 0.5. This was just, for the sake of time, a super brief look at the scale. It was definitely not comprehensive. So if you want more information on the scale, how to use it, check out either the YouTube video that'll be linked in the description box below, or check out Eric and I's transitioning away from tracking course, which will also be linked in the description box below. One strategy that I like to use when I'm in a fat loss phase is to not let myself dip below a 3 on that scale. And again, a 3 just represents a normal level of hunger. My rationale for this is the hungrier we are, the better food tastes, and the more likely we are to overeat. When we let ourselves get too hungry, we are more likely to overeat and overshoot our calorie goal for the day, which can prevent us from losing weight. And then one thing I want to note as well is that we aren't trying to avoid feelings of hunger entirely. So this is a fat loss phase. We are trying to lose weight, so we should feel hungry at times. That's a good thing. We're just trying to we're trying to limit the number of times that we feel those really intense feelings of hunger that can lead to us making decisions that don't align with our goals. So I just mentioned that because it's not like we're trying to avoid every sensation associated with hunger at all. We're just trying to avoid those extreme sensations that can lead to decisions that don't support our goals. And then now coming full circle and looking at, snacking. So when it comes to a fat loss phase, there are basically 2 scenarios that I like to use snacking. One is if needed before a workout to help improve performance if I haven't had enough food. So personally, if I can help it, I don't like to lift and be hungry at the same time. So that would be one scenario. And that's just, again, to help performance so I can have a better workout. And then the second thing is to keep myself from dipping below a 3. So if I'm going along and I feel myself get to a 3 and I know it's still going to be a while before I can have a solid meal, that would be another time I might incorporate a snack. And for me, it doesn't take much, like literally like a piece of fruit or a small bar or something like that. Something between 100 to 300-ish calories. So whether to aim for, I guess whether you'll aim for like the 100 to the 150 range or like the 300-ish range, depends on how hungry you are, how long it will be until you get to actually have a meal, and then what your daily calorie goal is. So this is a visual of what we are trying to accomplish through having a snack and what we are trying to avoid if we don't have a snack. So the black line represents our appetite. The red line represents what can happen with our appetite if we don't have a snack. And I say can happen because our appetite is interesting. So that's a topic for a whole separate video. So I just say it's what can happen if we don't have a snack. So basically, and we have time as we like look from left to right, like time passing. So basically we're starting at around like a 6, and as time is passing, we're slowly getting a little hungrier, a little hungrier, a little hungrier. Then we have that little intersection, which happens at a 3. So that's where, okay, like we're hungry, and we know, okay, it's going to be at least another hour and a half or 2 hours before we're going to get to have a full meal. So we have this snack. The continued black line represents what happens if we have a snack. We get a small bump, and then when we get to the meal line, we're back to around a 3. The red line represents, again, what happens if we don't have a snack, and we just keep cranking along, and then we get to a meal, and we're at like a 1.5-ish. So basically, what we're trying to do with this strategy is like when you really boil this down, this is a strategy that is to help us make better decisions. Like at the end of the day, this is a strategy so that way when it comes time when we have that meal, we're going to be in a place, we're going to be in a state where it's going to be easier to make the decisions that align with our goals. The mindset that I used to have years ago around snacking was, if I have a snack, now my meal has to be smaller if I'm going to hit my calorie goal for the day. So the meal's not going to fill me up, and I'm still going to be hungry after I eat. So it was like I didn't want to have snacks because I felt like, okay, then it's just going to make my meal smaller, and I'm still going to be hungry after I eat those meals. What I found, though, was that if I ate a small snack, that kept me from getting so hungry, and I didn't need as big of a meal when it came time to eat because I wasn't as hungry. And this specifically is a fear that I come across all the time when working with clients, is like somebody is so used to being so hungry when it comes time to eat their meals that they're afraid of spreading their food out a little bit more, because they're afraid if they do that, their meals are going to be smaller and they're still going to be hungry after they're done eating. And they just kind of create this cycle. And the cause of them being so hungry when it comes time to having the meal oftentimes is the result of them waiting so long to eat before they have the meal. So it's like they're starving because they're not spreading their food out, and then they're not spreading their food out because they're afraid they're still going to be starving. It's this fear around like saving calories, not having enough, and it just creates this pattern that becomes a cycle. And oftentimes the simple fix for it is if the person tests out spreading out their food just a little bit differently, that way they aren't as hungry when it comes time to have that meal, then they often find that they don't need as big of a meal to fill them up when it comes time to eat. The flip side of this is also true. We can spend too much of our calories snacking throughout the day, because like the first example was like if we're just having like 1 or 2 massive meals per day and we're not wanting to break those meals apart because we're already starving and we're afraid that like if I break those meals apart, I'm just going to be hungry all the time then. This is the flip side where it's like, okay, we can also just spend all of our calories or too many of our calories snacking throughout the day to where we don't have enough solid meals, to where we're rarely actually satisfied. So it's like, I'm not saying that we should just start snacking all the time. When I'm in a fat loss phase, this is my preferred structure. So meals are the foundation of my structure. I try to consume most of my calories as meals. I try to eat every 3 to 5 hours to prevent myself from getting too hungry and to get any potential benefits that come from spreading my protein out throughout the day. I tend to be closer to like the 4 to 5 hour mark versus the 3 hour mark, just because personally I don't really like to eat every 3 hours. And then I only use snacking, 1, if needed before a workout to help improve performance, like I mentioned, and then 2, to keep myself from dipping below a 3, like we talked about. And ultimately, these are just ideas, so you have to test things out and see what works best for you when it comes to snacking and managing your appetite. Maybe next time that you find yourself at a 3 and it's going to be another 1 or 2 hours at least before you're going to get to have a full meal, maybe you could test out having a large apple or having another small snack and see if that helps you make better decisions when it comes time to have the actual meal, and if in fact you don't need as much food to fill you up because you had that snack. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.